very popular segment of the show, and we're bringing it back. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Vegas Takes very own version of the China Report.
Let's say China. 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 China.
Thank you, Rush. Yeah, it is time for the China Report. So the DHS is report. Don't we have a little music that we could play? What happened to our music?
No, we just have music.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Right.
Daniel's son.
Just have it on the bottom the entire time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, don't even take it off.
The DHS report, they're purporting that China hid the coronavirus severity in order to hoard medical supplies. So this is not a surprise, but a serious situation. JD, what can you tell us about this?
Well, there's also much more to it than that. Word is that in Beijing, out of Beijing, which is obviously where all the decisions are made, they censored Google they censored search information, so like information that was coming out about the virus. They censored that so that people in other countries couldn't see what was going on. Also, there's a lot of conversation, and Pompeo and Trump and a lot of the Republican administration, the Trump administration, is pretty much convinced at this point that the virus did originate in Wuhan and that it was most likely accidentally released. It wasn't, a biological weapon. But there's also the conversation that, well, maybe China got opportunistic and they decided that, wow, we have this extremely dangerous virus. Maybe we can we can kind of put the world at our mercy.
By the way, are they still eating bats out there?
They are, and actually, I believe they are still eating bats.
That's ridiculous.
That wet market is still open. And
That's
again,
disgusting.
This wet market where they said the virus started, it's coincidentally 1 mile away from the only level 4 biosafety lab in China, in the entire country, where there's 1.3 billion people, Brian. So what are the chances that a virus like this would just show up a mile away from the actual lab?
Trump said he doesn't think it's intentional.
No, I'm not saying it's intentional. I'm saying it's accidental, but obviously the cover-up was intentional.
Well, yes.
The information about what happened with the deaths was intentional. The fact that it was human-to-human transmissible as early as December was intentional. That they had so much information early in the process that they did not share with the United States for months. And it affected not only the United States, but also the entire world's response. Now, here's a question for you, Brian, and this is outside of the China report, but it's something I got to add in. Italy.
We're not turning off the music.
Italy, France, and Spain all had less than 2,000 cases yesterday. New cases and less than 200 deaths. Why in the United States are we not going below that 25,000 caseload mark?
Well, I think
why is this virus
He's asking you a
stopping?
question.
Yes,
Brian.
yeah.
He's asking you a leading
First
question.
of all, I think that the virus was in some other parts of the world before it got here. I think that we're a little behind with some of other, and I think that's a big reason. I think eventually we will get there sooner than later.
But based on based on what H.L. Greenberg said, he had the virus back in December or January.
And
so
I believe,
by that logic, then the virus, unless there's a different strain of the virus that we're now getting on the East Coast.
And I personally believe that there are other parts of the world that got the virus before we got the virus here. And it makes complete sense, at least to me, forming this opinion, that eventually we will be there. But I believe some of these other countries got it a few months before we got it.
And I think that we are, since a lot of hospitals are actually getting paid to list COVID as a cause of death.
I'm not going to...
No, they are. Brian, the CARES Act is literally giving Medicare 20% more for uninsured patients. They have $40 billion allotted just for that specific thing, for listing COVID as a cause of death and for using a ventilator. And right now, 90% of people on ventilators are dying. They are dying.
Chris,
so why are we using those? The hospitals are getting paid extra money to kill people with ventilators.
Chris, I know.
But to bounce back to China, JD, which we were talking about initially, and Brian, how hard is the hammer going to drop on the Chinese government once all the smoke clears, not just from us here in the United States of America, but from countries all over the world, given that this is absolutely something that they are going to have to answer for big time? I mean, that's what we're talking about.
I think you're looking at an international lawsuit from several countries. Germany is going to charge them $150 billion. The United States is looking at somewhere in the trillion range. Except the problem is we owe them $1.1 trillion in bonds. The problem with that is if we just erase that debt, it erases the value of our dollar. So I think Trump will hit them with a pretty good sized bill as far as that goes. And if 5 or 6 other major countries like a Great Britain, let's say, had Boris Johnson died, they would have had some serious hell to pay under those circumstances. But I could see China just not doing anything, and then eventually, I mean, it's possible. It is possible based on what we know about China and how involved they were in this virus and how much pestilence it's caused across the world, not just in the United States. But it's possible that there could be a war with China as the one target.
By the way,
that is possible at this point.
Chris Wynn just told me that he knows the soundtrack to that music that was just being played because it's the same music.
Yeah, it's Romeo Must Die,
no,
2001. Great movie.
No,
rest in peace, Aaliyah.
No, don't
She's
lie.
Awesome.
Even let me finish.
That was necessary.
All right,
I'm happy you did that.
It's the same
She
music.
was great.
It's the same music that Chris Wynn hears when he steps into a massage parlor. So that's
true.
I just wanted to say that.
Oh, so that's how Brian was lining up that
Brian
joke, right?
had to say that. He had to
JD,
say that.
that's
Yeah,
how
it was
he
so
had that
important.
whole thing
It was so
planned.
important that he insulted you for liking massage parlors.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
That's great.
What's
That's
wrong
perfect.
with me wanting to get a little, massage action? Nothing wrong with that.
Define massage action. Actually, don't.